Hi, I'm Frank. I never thought my own parents would drag me to court over a house I purchased with my own hard-earned money, but here we are. 3 months ago, I finally had enough saved for a down payment on a modest three-bedroom in Oak Ridge, the neighborhood I'd been eyeing for years. Frank, honey, we're so proud of you, Mom gushed over dinner the night I told them. Your father and I never managed to buy property until our 40s. Dad nodded, fork paused midair. Good investment. Property values in Oak Ridge have been climbing steadily. Smart move, son. My sister Vanessa smiled tightly. Yeah, congrats. Must be nice having that engineering salary while some of us are still paying off student loans. Come on, Ness, I said, trying to keep things light. You're doing great with your new position at the firm. You'll get there. Dad cleared his throat. Speaking of property, Frank, you remember the discussions we had about family assets a few years back? What discussions? I asked, genuinely confused. Mom and Dad exchanged a look I couldn't quite interpret. Never mind, Mom said quickly. This is your celebration dinner. Who wants dessert? 2 weeks later, I was signing the final paperwork with my realtor, Megan. Congratulations, Frank. How does it feel to be a homeowner? Megan asked, sliding the deed across the table. Surreal. Good surreal, though, I replied, signing my name with a flourish. Any plans for renovations? Nothing major. New kitchen counters, maybe paint the... My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Marcus. Dude, call me ASAP. Your sister just posted something weird on Facebook about your house. Sorry, Megan, I need to take this. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Marcus's apartment staring at his laptop screen in disbelief. She can't be serious, I muttered, reading Vanessa's post for the third time. When your parents promised you your grandparents' inheritance money for a house, but your brother somehow ends up buying one first. #betrayed, #family drama. Marcus leaned back in his chair. You said the house isn't connected to your grandparents, right? Not at all. I saved every penny myself. Grandma and Grandpa left some money, but that was split between me and Vanessa years ago. I used mine for grad school. Then what's she talking about? My phone rang, Dad calling. I put it on speaker. Frank, we need to talk, he said, his voice unnaturally formal. Your mother and I have consulted our attorney about the situation with your house purchase. What situation? I demanded. What are you talking about? The funds designated for Vanessa's future home. We've always been clear that your grandmother wanted her inheritance to go toward Vanessa's first home since you got the education fund. That's absolutely not true. I never heard anything about this arrangement. We discussed this when you were both in college, Mom chimed in from the background. Vanessa was supposed to get the house fund. I bought this house with my savings from my job, I said, my voice rising. I didn't use any inheritance money. Nevertheless, Dad continued coldly, we believe you were aware of the family arrangement and deliberately circumvented it. We'll be filing a petition with the court tomorrow. Our lawyer will be in touch. The line went dead. Marcus stared at me, eyes wide. Did your parents just threaten to sue you over a house you bought with your own money? I nodded slowly, still processing. Apparently, they think I stole my sister's inheritance, but Marcus, I swear to you, there was never any arrangement like that. Then why would they? Because, came a new voice from the doorway. It was Jackie, Marcus's roommate and a paralegal at a local law firm. They probably want the house for themselves or your sister, and they're using this inheritance story as leverage. She sat down across from us, eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Frank, you're going to need a good lawyer because from what I just overheard, your family's about to declare war. The following morning, I met with Diane Abernathy, an attorney Jackie recommended who specialized in family property disputes. So your parents claim there was a verbal agreement that your sister would receive funds, specifically for purchasing a home? Diane asked, jotting notes on a yellow legal pad. Yes, but no such agreement ever existed, I insisted. I used my own savings from 4 years of working as a systems engineer. I can prove every dollar came from my paychecks. Diane nodded. That's good. What about the inheritance from your grandparents? How was that distributed? It was split evenly. We each got about $40,000. Vanessa used hers for a car and travel. I put mine toward grad school. Was there any documentation stating specific purposes for the inheritance? No. The will simply divided everything between us equally. Diane tapped her pen against the pad. Your parents' case sounds weak, but family courts can be unpredictable. We need to understand their exact claim and gather counter-evidence. Later that day, I called my Uncle Robert, my father's brother. Frank, how's the new house? he answered cheerfully. Actually, that's why I'm calling. Did Dad ever mention any arrangement about Vanessa getting Grandma's inheritance specifically for a house? A long pause followed. No, but your dad has always favored Vanessa. You know that. But nothing specific about inheritance money being earmarked for her house. Not that I recall. Why? They're taking me to court, Uncle Rob. They're claiming I somehow stole Vanessa's house money. What? That's ridiculous. Uncle Robert's voice rose. Listen, Frank, there was never any such arrangement in your grandparents' will. I was there when it was read. Would you be willing to sign an affidavit stating that? Absolutely. Your grandmother would be horrified by what they're doing. My next call was to Aunt Patricia, who had lived with my grandparents during their final years. Oh, Frank, she sighed after I explained. I was afraid something like this might happen. What do you mean? Your father approached your grandparents about changing their will to favor Vanessa about a year before your grandmother passed. She refused. My heart pounded. Dad tried to get them to change the will? Yes. He claimed Vanessa needed more help because her career prospects weren't as strong as yours. Your grandmother was furious. She said both her grandchildren were getting equal shares, period. Why didn't you tell me this before? I didn't want to cause family drama, but if they're taking you to court with this fabricated story, would you testify about this conversation if needed? Of course, honey, I've got your back. My last stop was my cousin Emma's apartment. She and Vanessa had always been close. I don't want to get involved, Emma said immediately after opening the door. I just need to understand what's happening, I pleaded. Emma sighed. Fine, come in. We sat at her kitchen table, coffee mugs between us. Vanessa's been talking about that house in Oak Ridge for months, Emma admitted. She said your parents promised to help her buy it when she made partner at her firm. The exact house I bought. Emma nodded uncomfortably. She had a whole Pinterest board for renovations. When she found out you bought it, she lost it, I finished. But Emma, that house was never promised to her. I didn't even know she was interested in it. Maybe not explicitly, but Emma fidgeted with her mug. Your parents have always given Vanessa whatever she wanted. I think they just assumed they could do the same with your grandparents' money. But there was no specific house money for Vanessa in the inheritance. Try telling that to your sister, Emma muttered. She's convinced herself that money was rightfully hers. I leaned forward. Emma, I need allies here. My own family is trying to take away something I worked for. Emma met my eyes. I'll tell you what I know, but I won't testify against them. I can't. Fair enough. Just tell me. Have you ever heard anyone besides my parents or Vanessa mention this supposed arrangement about the house money? Never, Emma said firmly. Not once. As I drove back to Marcus's place, where I was staying until this mess got sorted, I called Diane. I think I understand what happened, I told her. My parents promised my sister my house without having the means to deliver. Now they're trying to fix their mistake by taking it from me. Then let's make sure they fail, Diane replied. Meet me tomorrow. We're going to build an ironclad defense. 1 week later, we met for mediation at Diane's firm. My parents, Vanessa, and their attorney, Townsend, sat across from us, tension filling the room. We're here because my son stole his sister's inheritance, Dad declared before the mediator could even begin. Townsend slid a folder across the table. We have documentation of the verbal agreement regarding Vanessa's inheritance allocation. Documentation of a verbal agreement? Diane raised an eyebrow. That's contradictory by definition. Witness statements, Townsend clarified, from family members present during these discussions. The folder contained statements from my parents, Vanessa and Aunt Helen, who I'd barely spoken to in years. Frank, Mom said softly, you know that money was meant for your sister's house. I met her gaze. No, Mom, there was never any such arrangement. How can you lie to our faces? Vanessa snapped. We talked about this for years. We never did, I replied evenly. Not once. Because you never listen. Vanessa's voice rose. You've always been so wrapped up in your perfect life. Dad leaned forward. Son, be reasonable. Your sister needs this house more than you do. That's what this is really about, I said. Not some imaginary agreement. But you promising Vanessa something that wasn't yours to give? Vanessa slammed her hand on the table. It's not a lie. Grandma always said I would get help with a house. Then why isn't it in her will? I demanded. The room fell silent. Diane presented our evidence. We have statements from Robert Reynolds and Patricia Weber, both present at the will reading. confirming no such arrangement existed, plus bank records showing every dollar of Frank's down payment came from his earned income. This isn't about the money source, Townsend argued. It's about my parents promising my sister my grandparents' money without their consent, I interrupted. And when that failed, they resorted to legal threats. Frank, Mom pleaded, we're your family. We're just trying to make things right. Right for who? Not for me, not for Grandma and Grandpa. You could buy another house, Vanessa suggested, suddenly switching tactics. I've dreamed of that specific house for years. Please, Frank. The sister who's trying to take what I worked for, I replied coldly. The sister who posted lies about me online before even talking to me. Dad's face darkened. This isn't who we raised you to be. You raised me to work hard and be honest. What happened to those values? Enough! Dad slammed his fist down. We'll let a judge decide. As they prepared to leave, Dad pointed at me. You're making a massive mistake. I've got connections in this town. By the time we're done, you'll wish you'd never bought that house. Is that a threat? Diane asked sharply. It's a promise, he replied before storming out with Mom, Vanessa, and their attorney following behind. The mediator sighed. I think we can safely say mediation has failed. 3 months later, we gathered in the county courthouse. Since Dad's threat, I'd installed security cameras that captured Vanessa attempting to enter my house with a key she shouldn't have had, resulting in a trespassing charge that significantly weakened their case. Judge Watkins addressed the courtroom after hearing arguments. I find no legal basis for the plaintiff's claim to Mr. Frank Reynolds' property. The will divided the inheritance equally with no stipulations. Furthermore, Mr. Reynolds purchased his home using verifiable earned income. She continued, I find the plaintiff's conduct deeply troubling, particularly the attempted unauthorized entry to the defendant's property. The case is dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Reynolds is entitled to recoup reasonable legal fees. Outside, Marcus congratulated me as my family approached. Frank, please, Mom reached for my arm. We need to talk as a family. We tried that, I replied, stepping back. You chose litigation instead. We made a mistake, Dad admitted. We got caught up in trying to help your sister. By stealing from me? Vanessa stepped forward, eyes red. I'm sorry, Frank. I really thought that house was supposed to be mine. Because they told you that, I said. They made promises they couldn't keep. Can't we move past this? Mom pleaded. We're family. Family doesn't drag each other to court over lies, I replied. Family doesn't threaten each other or try breaking into each other's homes. So that's it? Dad demanded. You're throwing away 30 years of family over one disagreement? This wasn't a disagreement, it was a betrayal, I said firmly. And yes, some things can't be undone. What do you want from us? Vanessa asked desperately. An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. I don't want anything from you anymore, I said. That's the point. Jackie approached. Frank's friends are waiting to celebrate. You should go now. This isn't the end of this conversation, Dad insisted. Actually, it is, Diane interjected. My client has a restraining order ready to file if necessary. That evening, my true support system gathered at my house. Marcus, Jackie, Uncle Robert, Aunt Patricia, and close friends. A toast, Uncle Robert announced, to Frank, who stood his ground. Your grandparents would be proud. I still can't believe they took it this far, Jackie said. What will you do now? Aunt Patricia asked. They're still your family. I looked around at the people who had stood by me. Family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, honesty, and support. So you're cutting them off completely? Marcus asked. For now, yes. Maybe someday they'll understand what they did wrong, but I won't hold my breath. And the house? Jackie asked. Any second thoughts? I smiled, looking around at the walls that were finally unquestionably mine. None whatsoever. This house represents everything I've worked for and everything I've learned about standing up for myself. What's next for you? Uncle Robert asked. Healing, moving forward, building a life surrounded by people I can actually trust. Marcus raised his glass again. To new beginnings. The house keys felt solid and real in my pocket. My house, my victory, my new beginning. Have you ever had to stand up to family who tried to take advantage of you? What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of standing your ground.